All right, so good evening, Michaela. Thanks for being here. I'm going to start the class with you. It's 7:50. I imagine your partners are going to join very soon, but I think it's time to start. So how are you, Michaela? Is everything okay?
Good evening, teacher. I'm fine, thank you. All was okay.
Great, that's great to know, Michaela. So let's start the class. All right, thanks for answering. I'm going to start by showing you Pearson. Remember that everything is already set on Pearson. It's just you that have to complete everything until today, right? You have until 11:59 p.m. tonight to finish everything. So I'm just going to show you again how you're doing so that you can see your performance in comparison to your partner's performance. And you can see also if you need to be careful, because remember, this is the last day of the course and everything is going to finish today. All right. So most of you have been working with the assignments. That is great. And some of you are still with some, well, a good amount of assignments to complete. Remember, please, that after the class, you have to complete all those assignments. I mean, 161, the last 30 or almost 40, right, are from the last unit. Don't forget about that, please. And also remember that all of you have to take the final exam, right? The final exam is available for you. Well, it was available starting Friday. All right. But again, I told you that you can wait until today, right, to take a look at the last part of the class. And I believe that's also a good idea. But after the class, then you should also be able to take that final test. All right. If you have questions about Pearson, if you have questions about the platform, let me know. Just remember that after this class, everything is done. Tomorrow, I have to send the scores to management. All right, I have to do it tomorrow. Even though I don't know if you know this one, but I'm going to tell you the next course is going to start on Monday. All right. And again, either it is going to be with me or with a different person. You have to be careful because even though it starts next Monday, it means, let me tell you the date, Monday the 14th. Okay, so this week you're not going to have any classes, any activities. Everything will start on Monday the 14th. And again, even though that's the starting day, I have to send the scores tomorrow. All right, so be careful, please, with these elements and be sure that you can finish everything by tonight. And again, if you have any questions, please let me know before we can go to the last lesson. We finish that lesson and then we're going to have a short debate if we have the time to do it. Okay, but the most important part or thing to do is covering this lesson, right? Reported speech. So let me know, please. Do you have any questions or comments? No? All right. So let's begin then. Okay. We're going to start then with the presentation. Pearson is ready for you. Again, it's just you that you need to finish what's left. And that's it with the plan. I'm going to close that one. This just in case it's going to be like that. And I am going to go then to the last presentation. But before doing that, remember, I am going to send the link once again. To practice the last lesson, we already started the lesson. It means today we're just going to finish it. We're going to practice by writing some examples, and we are going to finish with one debate again. I think it's going to be just the three of you because Natarena, all right, texted me, and she said that perhaps she had some changes in her schedule, and it's going to be very difficult for her to join. Okay, but even being the three of you, please, we're going to try to have that debate at the end of the, well, before finishing actually, and at the end of the presentation that I'm going to show you so that you can practice a little bit. Okay, but let's take a look then at this. This is the last lesson. Again, we already covered the first part, but it's important to review. So let's see what you remember. I'm going to start with you, Micaela. Let's try to explain one more time, please. You can use the information that you used or that we covered on Friday and that you mentioned also by yourself. What do you know about reported speech and how can you explain this structure?
Well, reported speech we use when we want to share a message or when we can share a message from other person, well, we can use two forms to share the idea with quotation mark or with change the past the time of the tense.
Good, that is good. We're going to focus on the second one, right? Because reported speech is actually going to be the second type, right? The type in which we don't use quotation marks, but you said it very well. It's great. The first type, that is direct speech, is going to be with quotation marks. We use the exact words. And the second type, that is reported speech or indirect speech, right? That is going to be the one without quotation marks, but we use, again, some changes, as you said very well, right? You change the tense. I don't know if you remember some of those rules, Michaela. We only saw that very rapidly because it was the introduction, but I don't know if you remember at least one or two rules. Remember, for example, if it's simple present, what tense do you have to use? If it's present perfect, what tense do you have to use? Tell me if you remember one or two, please, Michaela.
If it's present perfect, we change to past perfect. If it's well, if it's present, but it's like for example, if I use like I am doing this now, and when we use reported speech, we say she was doing this yesterday. We change the complement.
Very good. Thank you, Michaela. That is great. So one rule is that if it's present perfect, it changes to past perfect. And the other rule is that we have to change the time expressions, right? If the time expression says now, we are going to say at that moment, right? If it says today, we can say yesterday, or we can change just right to that day, right? You can say that day or that weekend or that year. Right, if you want to be well less specific, we can only say that. So great, that's it, Michaela. Thank you very much. I'm going with you now, Karen. Try to give me please some ideas to complement what Michaela said, and you can try to mention other rules for the other tenses that we got to see on Friday. Okay, only what you remember or what you can tell me, Karen. What do you say?
Okay. When we have a sentence in the simple present, this change to simple past. When we have the continuous form, we change to past continuous. And when we have a present perfect, we change to past perfect, and this is the same like direct speech, but the difference is that with direct speech we talk about the same word that some person said. And in the reported speech, we use the same, we use the context, but we don't tell the same words that the person said. We change a little using, I don't know, third person, and using that, and using said or told, something like that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Karen. Great. I think that's a great compliment, a great explanation. The rules were correct, right? Simple present, simple goes to simple past. Present continuous goes to past continuous. Present perfect, right, goes to past perfect. And past perfect remains the same, right? We don't change the past perfect. If a sentence is in the past perfect, it is still in the past perfect, right? It's one of those where you're going to have more of those, but the past perfect is the one that doesn't change, right? Don't forget about that. And yes, you said it very well. It's going to be, well, like the main idea is there, but as Michaela said, and you said, Karen, you have to make some changes related to the tenses, related to the pronouns, related to the possessive adjectives, related to the time expressions, right? Those are the things that you are mainly going to change. The subject or the pronouns, the possessive adjectives, the time expressions, right? And of course, the tense in general. So with that said, and also I'm going to go now to finish with you, Lucia, to now cover the presentation. So with what your partners said, try to, again, if you have knowledge, I believe that you do, because we covered this before and you were mentioning some ideas. Lucia, how can you explain one more time this structure, report to the speech, in your own words, summarizing what your partner said, and you can add information if you have some other information about it.
Okay, teacher. Before everything, teacher, I had a question. I don't know if, for example, for simple past, also the reported speech is past perfect, right?
Yes, in the case of the simple past that we didn't see on Friday yet, we're going to cover today, but yes, it is also past perfect. Correct.
Yeah. Just to summarize all the information that my colleagues mentioned, yeah, it's as we said, we report the speech, we use the main typical verbs, like it could be said or it could be told, and in the case of told, we have to use object pronouns directly, and yeah, we have to pay attention, of course, to the expressions of time, to the pronouns, to the person, to the subject, and see, analyze according to the context of each sentence. And yeah, and as they mentioned, we have to use, for example, in the case of present, simple past. In the case of perfect tenses, we have to use the same tense but in the past version. And also for progressive times, if it's in present, also past progressive times. And teacher, if it's past progressive, the initial, the base form, not the base form, the initial, what could be the reported speech for?
There you have options, all right? Some of them keep the past continuous in order to keep that idea of past, but some of them also use the past perfect continuous. All right, there is the past perfect continuous, so you can use the past perfect continuous in that case, and that can be the best option. Okay, very formal.
And in the case of the future tenses, teacher, how is the best option?
Yes, if it's the past of will, also we're going to cover that today. The past of will is would, right? So you're going to say would, right? If it's will. And if it's be going to, it's going to be future in the past, right? If you remember, it's going to be I was going to or you were going to. All right, so in those two cases, if it's will, it's going to be would, and if it's be going to, it's going to be the future in the past, was going to or were going to. All right, but you're going to have the charts in a few minutes so that you can complement those ideas, but that will be it, Lucia.
Yeah, thank you, Professor.
Right.
I just have another question just to take advantage of the time. I don't know if at the end of the class or of this presentation, just can we do a quickly review of the passive causatives? Yeah,
yes, of course.
I learned that on Pearson, but I couldn't be on that class at that time. But yeah, if just quickly, I know that you already see, but just to clarify something, please.
Yes, of course. Actually, today, right, is the day in which we finish this. And as I told you, you can ask me for any structures that were not clear for you, or as it happened to you, Lucia, perhaps you were not in that class, but that's the day, okay? Actually, today is the day in which I can do it. So yes, we're going to review that again very quickly, but to give you an idea for how you can understand that structure. All right?
Sure.
Good, very well. No, thank you very much. And also, thanks for explaining. I think your summary was very good and you got to give us all the main details about reported speech. Great. Thank you, girls. So I don't know if you have any questions before starting with the class. Again, we already covered the very beginning. That was the most important part. Now we're going to mainly cover the tenses and what are the, the changes that you have to make. And we're going to practice by writing some examples. Okay. And that's going to be it. That's going to be the lesson. And after that, again, as Lucia said, we're going to cover a little bit about the passive causative. And if you have questions as well, Michaela or Karen, about any other structure that is not clear for you yet, you can let me know. All right. So we can do that quickly before going to a short debate if we have the time. Okay. The most important thing to do today is making sure that you have, well, a good understanding of all the structures for the final exam. All right. So let's begin then. If you have any questions, you're going to let me know. Again, you can raise your hand or you can turn on your microphone. So, you know about it. We read this twice, so we're not going to read the definition one more time. You are using someone else's words and you're making some changes, right? As the tense, the pronouns, the subject, and so on. These are some common ways to introduce your reported speech. As you said very well, the two main common ones are said and told me, right? Also, Lucia mentioned that if you use tell in past told, you can use an object, right? But you can do the same with said, but it will be like an indirect object and you need a preposition, right? Someone said to me. That's also good. It's plausible, it's possible, and it's good. But the best option is always tell. Okay, but again, if you want to use said with an object, you need a preposition. Okay, so someone said to me or someone told me. All right, then stated and declare, they have the same meaning as say and tell. Stated, it's a little bit more formal. For example, you use that in scientific explanations, or right, you can say, for example, and the professor stated that, right, this idea wouldn't be possible because of this and that. All right, it's like saying, but in a more formal way. And declare, right, it's very similar to Spanish. When someone declares something, someone is saying something about a specific topic. Okay, but one more time, if you keep with the two first that are here, that's more than enough. The other variations are just synonyms or other possibilities that can have a different meaning, but the main essence is the same. All right, and again, that's just to show you what you can do now. Now, we are here. This is where we have stopped. This is the first part of the chart. I believe that you know this one by heart, right? Again, by memory, you can say that by heart. Simple present, simple past. Present continuous, past continuous. Past simple or simple past goes to past perfect. The present perfect goes to past perfect. Right? But we have more. As I told you, this is very important. Past perfect stays in past perfect. Okay, you don't change the past perfect. Will, as we said with Lucia, goes to would. Okay, because the past of will is would, right? I believe that you also know that one. Can, easy. The past of can, could. The past of may is might, okay? But remember that not always, because in possibility, may and might are the same. But in reported speech, all right, might is the past of may. Okay, so I may be late goes to she might be late. And must, this is very important. Must can be the same. Okay, you can keep it, you don't change it. But if you want to be very formal and you want to change it, you change must to had to, because there is no past form of must. Okay, so you borrow a past form of have to, that it's also obligation. Okay, so must goes to had to if you want to be very formal. Right? But let's again practice one more time. We're going to read this chart once again, but this time, now let's do the same as we did. We're going to divide this in two parts to read the examples and to keep that in mind. The first one is for you, please, Michaela. Let's read the present simple and the present continuous.
Okay, tense, present simple, direct speech, I like ice cream. Reported speech, she said that she liked ice cream, past simple. Present continuous, direct speech, I am living in London. Reported speech, she said that she was living in London, past continuous.
Thank you very much. The next two are going to be for you, please, Karen. The past simple and present perfect.
Okay, past simple, I bought a car. She said that she had bought a car. Past perfect. A present perfect, I haven't seen Julie. She said that she hadn't seen Julie. Past perfect.
Thank you very much. Good. That's something we're repeating, I know, but in order to have all the tenses at once today, we're going to continue with this. Here we have that. So it's going to be 3 for you, please, Lucia. Let's read about past perfect, will, and can.
Okay. Past perfect. I had taken English lessons before. She said that she had taken English lessons before. Same. Well, I will see you later. She said that she would see me later. Would. I can speak perfect English. She said that she could speak perfect English. Could. Professor, just a question. In the case of that, because it's in parentheses, it's an option. We would say she said she would see, or when we use that, it's my.
Yes, it is correct. Mainly in speaking, you can omit that, but that is formal. So if you're writing, for example, it's better to include that, okay? Because it's only more formal. If you omit that in a writing exercise that is formal, it can be sometimes considered as a mistake. All right, but yes, you can omit that, but if you omit it, it's going to be informal.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Okay, good. No, you're welcome. And the last part, one more time with you, please, Micaela. May and must.
May, I may be late. She said that she might be late. Must, I must study on the weekend. She said that she had to study on the weekend, had to.
Thank you very much, Micaela. So that's it. Let me see. We have more about the time words that you're going to see later on, but you're going to analyze, or actually we're going to do it we're going to do it now, because if not, we're going to work with a double exercise, but I believe that you got this. It's just writing to verify, and we're going to use that extra time to explain some other structures, okay? So let's cover these directly, but again, remember that you have the presentation on Google Classroom. Now you're going to work with me writing a lot of examples, because we're going to try to have at least the most important structures. There are going to be 6, okay, a minimum of 6 or 7 structures, and you're going to write examples now with me in the direct speech and indirect speech, all right? But in order to make it complete, let's also cover this part, please. As some of you were saying, I think that all of you actually mentioned that, is that we don't only change the tense, we also change some other details as the subject or the pronoun and the possessive adjectives, right? But something important that few people realize sometimes is that you also need to change the time expressions, all right? And it's very important to know what you can do. So let's read this with you, please, Karen. Let's read about now and today, the options that we have for reported speech.
Okay, now reported speech. Then at the time today, yesterday, that day, Tuesday, the 27th of June.
All right. So thank you, Karen. In other words, instead of today, you can mention the specific date, right? You can say the date. You can say the specific day also on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Friday, or better, last Tuesday, last Friday, right? Or simply, if you don't want to say anything specific, this can be the best option, that day. Or if it was yesterday, simply use yesterday. Okay, so it depends. It depends on when it was set, and if you want to mention that in a specific. If you don't want to mention that in a specific, it's enough if you change that to that day. Okay, so those are the first two. And of course, now it changes to then and at that time, because you're not going to say now, right, in your reported speech. The next two are for you, please, Lucia, yesterday and last night.
Okay, yesterday. The day before yesterday, the day before Wednesday, the 5th of December. And last night, the night before, or Thursday night.
Thank you very much. The same idea, right? If you want to be specific, you mention when it was set. Last Wednesday, the 5th of December. This can be very formal, or you can use the form that you know, right? December 5th. But this can also be sometimes very formal. Here the same, okay? So it's up to you. It's up to the idea of how specific you want to be. But you have to change it if it's referred, mainly if it's in present. You have to change it. We have more, these two, and these are for you, please, Micaela.
Okay, last week, the week before, or the previous week, tomorrow, today, the next day, the following day, or Friday.
Thank you very much. In this, from tomorrow, the best idea in most of the cases is this one, okay, the following day. It's not specific, and it's clarifying that it's the next day to the day I'm giving you that information. And of course, if it was yesterday, you can say today, right? If the person says, I will travel tomorrow, you're going to say, he said that he would travel today, right? Of course, it's going to be today. So again, it depends on how specific you want to be and how much information you have about what the other person is saying. Okay, but again, the one that is never going to be incorrect is going to be the following day. Okay, in case you don't have the information. Here, both can work in all the cases, the week before or the previous week. Here, it depends again on how much information you have. In this case, the day before is the one that can work every time. The rest of the information depends on the specific date that you have. Here, that day works. The rest, again, depends on that. And here, both of them work. Okay, so again, in every case, as you can see, you have one or two that work every time, but most of them are only going to be used if you have very specific information about it. If not, you can simply not use it, all right, and try to memorize the ones that are more general, like the ones that I showed you now. So this is also something that you have to take into account. You're going to let me know if you have any questions, but we have one more thing to see over here. That is, well, actually, you know this one. Of course, you change what? The subject. Here, actually, these are three different elements. You have to change the pronoun, right? The subject pronoun. You have to change the possessive adjective, and you have to change the object pronoun, right? Of course, it depends on who is saying that information. Okay, so I, my, and me, they are always going to change because you are reporting someone else's words, right? Unless you are telling someone your own words, right? And you can say, I think I told you that, right? I have to, or I had to travel, right? So in case you're using your own words, of course, don't use this logic. But most of the time, you're going to be reporting someone else's words, right? In that case, of course, change that to the third person or plural. Change the possessive to his, hers, the teachers, or Karen's, Lucia's, Micaela's, right? And me goes to him, her, or the teacher. It depends, all right? And that's it. Practically, that's everything you need to know. And again, I believe that you already had that information, but it's just for reviewing and reinforcing that. So first, you're going to let me know if you have any questions. If not, we're going to divide this practice in two parts, but I believe that you do. Hey, Karen, let me know if you have any questions, please.
Teacher, in the Pearson, we have a part that says that when we use a simple present, we change to simple present. I don't know if we can see this part in the Pearson, in the part that explains.
Yes, of course. It depends on the verb. As I told you here, that's why we're using past verbs. If you use here a past verb, then your reported speech has to have these changes that I'm showing you here. All right. But if you use this in present, then you are not going to make changes afterwards. But we can go and take a look at that. Okay. So it depends on the verb that you use to report your speech. All right. So once again, if the reported verb is in present, you don't need to make changes. But if it's in past, you have to make changes. Because again, you can be reporting, imagine that one, Karen, as I'm looking for that information, you can say something that I said like a few seconds ago, and you can report that in present. Okay, and imagine that I go, I don't know, somewhere else because someone is calling me, and Micaela was not here, she joins, and you say that in present, right? So you're going to say, Luis says that we have to prepare the information to make a presentation, right? So there I am using present because you are still saying something that I just said, and you don't believe it's a good idea to make it in past because it's still going on. All right, so that's the decision that you have to make, and Karen. If it's something recent, very recent, that you're going to report, you can use present in the main verb, and you don't have to make changes in the rest of the ideas. Right, but let's take a look at that. It's over here. So over here, the exact words, right? This is what we said, right? Direct speech or direct statement. We use the one with quotation marks, always the period inside, comma, or semi, or colon, sorry, right? That's clear. Then reported statements, we use that, right? And here they say often. And again, in many of the cases here, it is going to depend on the formality. In other cases, it's going to be something else. But again, if you don't want to make mistakes, try to use that every time. It's not about that. Here, reported verbs, this is what we were talking about. The most commons are say and tell, as you said, right? Very well. And here they are using this in past, so they change that to past, right? Am to was, and tell changes to told, and was, am to was, right? So far we're good. Now, this is some of the cases, right? Simple present to simple past, present continuous to past continuous, simple past to past perfect, present perfect to past perfect, right? That's everything we know so far. Now, this is the reporting verb. So, good. When the reporting verb is in present, we don't change the verb tense in the reported statement, right? It's what I was telling you. If you're giving information about something that just happened, you don't have to change, okay? But in that case, again, we wouldn't have anything to practice. In the presentation, I'm showing you the past tense because that's something you have to learn. Because otherwise, right, you would do exactly the same. The only things that you would change are the subject pronoun, the object pronoun, and that will be it. All right. In case you don't want to modify the information because it's very recent, instead of these words over here, you have to conjugate this in present, right? Someone says that, you say the same idea without changing the tense, right? Only the subject and the object. Someone tells me that, someone states that, and someone declares that. All right, so that is what they are saying here. It depends on how recent the event is and your decision on whether you want to show the exact idea because it's recent, or if you want to change it to past because it was from yesterday's or before that, so that you can be more precise about that past idea. All right, so I don't know if you have any questions then about that, Karen, and if it helps answering the question.
No, teacher, thank you.
Okay, good. No, you're welcome. And this is what we were saying, right? The pronouns and the possessive adjectives, those are the ones that change. And remember, pronouns can be subject pronouns, I, or they can be object pronouns, like me. But both of them have to change if you are saying someone else's words. Okay, good. So let's practice then. Again, we're going to try to practice the main tenses. I believe that the continuous form is always one of the easiest ones, so we're not going to practice the continuous. We're going to practice simple tenses. So we're going to write first, okay, without this, okay? Don't imagine that we're not here in reported speech. You're just going to write to begin. Let me go to the document. Statements, okay? Don't write reported speech, don't write direct speech, only statements in a tense. So we're going to write one in the simple present, one in the simple past, one in the present perfect, one in the past perfect, one in the future. You decide what future, okay? Future with will or future with be going to, that's up to you. And the last with any model that you want. It means it can be can, it can be must, it can be all right, any model that you have in mind. Okay, so 6 sentences in total, please. Simple present, simple past, present perfect, past perfect, future, any type of future, and a model. Okay, and first only the sentences. Then in the second part, after we see that your sentences are okay, because remember that you need a context to make your sentence correct. After we see that everything is correct, also please, here to practice this, it's important that you use time expressions. Okay, use time expressions in all of your examples, please, so that we can change the time expression if it's necessary. Okay, not all of them are going to change because some of them are indefinite, some of them are unspecific, but the ones that are specific, they are going to change. Okay, so one more time, 6 examples in all those tenses with time expressions and good complements to understand and to make sure that it is the correct tense in your example. All right, let's do it, please. If you have questions, let me know. Don't work on the reported speech yet, please. Only the examples, and after that, we are going to work on the reported speech. Let's do it, please. All right, there are 6 of them, so we're going to give ourselves 6 minutes to do it. If we need more time, no, I believe it's going to be okay. Let me set the timer. All right, so you have it over there, please. Let's have 6 minutes and we check. Just a reminder, please remember that in simple past, it is definite past, so you need very definite and specific time expressions. The present perfect, sorry, is indefinite past, so don't use specific time expressions in the present perfect. Okay, you have to use indefinite and specific time expressions or periods of time. And in the past perfect, remember that it's the past of the past. So you always need another time reference in the past that goes well with that, okay? In order not to make a lot of confusion over there, you can simply use a time reference like by June or by 1990, for example, right? Because if you say by, it means before that date. Okay, in that way, you don't have to write 2 complete sentences there. Okay, take that into account, please. Okay, so it's the 6 minutes. Let's take a look at what you got. We're going to make some corrections if there's need to that. If not, again, we're going to start working with the next part to finish the lesson. That is changing that to the reported speech. Okay, remember that now we only need statements, all right, to make them and to use them in in reported speech. Let's start with you, please. I believe that this is yours, Karen. You have the 6 of them. Yes. So let's start, please.
She likes to walk every morning with her dog. They didn't go to their medical appointment last week. He has played tennis several times. I had learned how to drive by 2010. We will travel to Mexico next month. She can take care of your brother.
Thank you, Karen. Great. I believe that it's good. I have no observations. They are marking there again just because they want to change it to simple past. But now we're practicing the past perfect, so we need the past perfect. Okay, so good. Again, some of these expressions, they are not going to change. Every morning, perhaps it's not going to change because it's a routine, and every morning, right, it's going to be every morning. It doesn't matter if it's in a reported speech in the past, right? The last week, yes, this is going to change. You know, you have some alternatives to the previous week, right, or the week before. So this is going to change. We're going to imagine again, pretend, please, Micaela, Karen, and Lucia, that you are giving this reported speech many months after this was said. Okay, so instead of saying again the exact words, try to change that as if it happened a long time ago, right? And again, it's going to be your decision. You can keep it general, or you can give an idea of this happening many months ago. Then this is also not going to change, right? Several times. This is not going to change by 2010. This is going to change, right? The next month it changes, all right? So again, I'm mentioning that so that you don't have any problems, because now, as I'm going to check your partners, you are going to be writing the reported speech of all these sentences. Okay, so this is correct, and this is also correct. So I believe that we're good to work then, Karen. Let's now, please, don't delete this. You have two options, Karen. You can write the reported speech down below, or you can shift enter here, and without creating a number, you can write a reported speech over there, for example, and over there. Okay, so they are well, close to one another, and you can write the reported speech. Okay, let's do it, please, as I'm checking your partners. Now I'm going with you. This is not Nazarene is not here. Micaela, let's do the same, please. Let's read your examples.
Okay. Carol is worried about the approval for the budget of November. Percy drove the car all night. Joanne has worked on that document since July. We had done the inventory by the end of the month. We are going to release the new products next month. She cannot resign from her job without a notarized letter of request.
Thank you very much, Micaela. Good. Again, we're only going to change few details here. I think mainly number one, all right? Here, instead of the budget of November, it's better if you say November's budget. And instead of for, you're going to say the approval of. All right, so here, in other words, it's going to be like this. The approval of November, sorry, capital letter. All right, because it's going to apply the rules that we need over there. We're going to use the right preposition, and this order is always better. All right, so good. This is present, simple present with the verb to be. Yes. Drove, simple past, all night. You have two options here. Say during the whole night, or it's better if you say all night long. All right, that expression includes the idea of during the whole night. Okay, so you can say the whole night or all night long, because all night is sometimes not going to be correct because it's not that natural. Then as worked on that document in July, good, period of time. Here you don't need to change that. Okay, so also with you, then let's see that Micaela, here you don't have one because we don't need one. all night long, this is not going to change if you keep the same idea. This is not going to change either if it's in July. Then by the end of the month here, yes, you're going to change something that it can be only, it can be only this article, right? Instead of the month, it can be of that month, or you can look for a specific month if you want to mention a month in the past. Okay, it can be of last month or of one of the months that you can mention. Then, good. Also, this is going to change, right? As we said with Karen. And here, we don't need anything else, right? Because it's only the model. So that's it. I don't know if you have any questions before doing the same, please. Michaela, you're going to shift enter so that you don't create a number. You write the recorded speech down below every sentence or statement that you have. Okay, so any questions before starting, Michaela?
It's good, teacher. Thank you.
Okay, good. No, you're welcome. Let's work on that, please. Then I'm going to go back to the two of you. And please, this is yours, Lucia. Let's do the same, please. First, let's read what you got, and then we go to the next part.
Okay, she submits her documents now. He cooked dinner the day before yesterday. Mary hasn't acted in a play yet. By 1990, the Berlin Wall had broken. 5, she's going to run in the next marathon. And 6, they must clean the house after the party.
Thank you very much, Lucia. Good. Okay, now let's take a look at just some details again. This is good. This is present, right? Let's try to do the following. If we say now, remember that. Exactly. Here is better because submits, it's going to be like, unless you're saying that at this time, because you're saying now, right? At this time, every time she submits her documents. Okay, but I believe that now it's only one case, right? Because it's giving the documents or something. So we have two options, right? So you can say she's submitting her documents or her paperwork now, or you can say she always submits her documents on Friday or every Monday, something like that.
Okay.
All right, let's keep with those two ideas, or any of those two, sorry, let's choose one. Then this is good. And again, this you have to choose, you can keep the same, the idea, because the day before yesterday, that's going to be hard to get it in a different way. But one alternative could be to change this to the specific date. Okay, so you can say instead of the day before yesterday, you can say last Monday, for example. Okay, that's valid, and in this case could be good. Here, instead of this one, acted, is better instead of act, because it's not bad to say act, but it's more common if they say perform. Okay, when you perform in a movie or when you perform in a play, that's the best thing to say. To act, again, it's related to the idea, right, of acting in a play, but to perform in front of people because you are part of a play, it's always the best option. Okay, so you act as an activity, but you perform a play in front of people. All right, so in this case, perform is going to be better in a play yet. Then remember that here, this is the beginning, so it's going to be by 1990. The rest, I think, is good. Had broken here, you can change that if this is an alternative. You can keep it like that, but you can look for a way, Lucia, here, to make this passive voice. All right, so you can say, for example, the Berlin Wall have been torn apart or torn up, or have been broken, if you want to keep using the same verb. Okay, in that case, it is going to be passive voice, because as this is an object, it is better to use passive voice. And I think the rest of it is good. In the next marathon, and must clean the house after the party. Good. Those are my only details there, Lucia. I don't know if you have any questions before starting with the reported speech now.
No, Professor, just for the example of the number 4, I can keep like that, or I can use like in the passive suggesting, right?
Correct. For the example, we can keep it in that way because it's active now. But the best option could be to change it to passive voice, that it's still going to be past perfect, right? But it's going to be the past perfect of the passive voice. Okay, that is going to be have been broken. That's the only thing. But you can work with both.
All right, thank you.
All right, good. No, you're welcome. So let's again. I imagine that perhaps some of you did it. Yes, you did it. So I'm going with you once again, Karen. In the meantime, please be finishing also yours, Micaela and Lucia, and I go directly to you. So Karen, let's read please your reported speech for all those ideas.
Okay, she said that she liked to walk every morning with her dog. She told him that they had not gone to the medical appointment the week before. He said that he had played tennis several times. I told you that I had learned how to drive by 2010. We said that we would travel to Mexico the following month. She told me that she could take care of my brother yesterday.
Good, great, Karen. Thank you very much. I think it's working great. All right. Remember that mainly we change this if it's first person, then we change to the third person and so on, right? But the way you're doing it, I think it's working great because she stays as she, right? They are always going to be they. So we don't need to make any change if it's the same subject that it's in the third person, right? It can change only if it's first person or if it's first person singular or first person plural, right? I and we, they are almost always going to change. I changes to he, she, it, and well, it is very unlikely, but it can be possible with some characters. And we changes to they, right? Also, if you're speaking one-on-one with someone, you can change that to you, right? If he in that sentence, it's you when you're talking to someone, you can change that to you as well, all right? But again, that's only extra details that I'm mentioning, Karen, because I think it's pretty well. Just remember that as you mentioned, if the verb here stays in present, you can keep using the same tense, all right? So it will be something like, they tell me, or they are telling me that they didn't go right to their medical appointment last week. So you can keep it the same if you use present and if it's a very recent information you're talking about. That's it. With you, I believe we're working great. Karen, I don't have any observations. I don't know if you have any comments to be sure that everything is clear on your side.
Okay, with the simple past, you said that we changed to past perfect, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, teacher, only that.
Great. No, very good. So again, try to check the contents that we covered, Karen. Remember that we're going to check a little bit about the passive causative. If you have any questions about any of the structures that we covered from the first day until now, you're going to let me know. All right. Be checking that in the meantime, please, as I'm going with Micaela and Lucia. So Micaela, let's read yours now, please.
Okay, Carol said that she was worried about the approval of November budget. Percy told me that he had driven the car all night long. Joanne said that she had worked on that document since July. They told me that they had done the inventory by the end of that month. They say that they were going to release the new products the following month. She told me that she couldn't resign from her job without a notarized letter of request.
Great, very good. I think they are great. You're using interesting vocabulary, right, related to the things that you do, and they are working very, very good, Micaela. And your ideas are very well structured. Okay, so I think it's great. In pronunciation, only 2 words, okay? Only 2 little words in pronunciation, and I believe it's going to be perfect. First, this one. The past participle actually is going to change to E, so it's going to be driven. Okay, like E, driven. Let's repeat that one, please.
Driven.
Driven, exactly. And remember that this doesn't change. It's the same as this E, so it's going to be since. Okay, only since.
Since.
There you go. Okay, that's it. Again, I don't know if you have any questions or comments. I can see that you're working very well with this. I don't see any problems. So what do you say? Any questions or comments to finish with you?
Just one question about the Pearson. And in Pearson, we have an example with, I think was like they haven't take the decision or something like this. When we use the report the speech, well, could be they had not.
It has to be, again, as Pearson is taking into account that your verb can be in past or present, Michaela, it depends. If it's in present, if they say that, then you don't change the tense, right? It's going to be still haven't, okay? Haven't taken. It's going to be the same if it's present. But if they are making you practice like I am, the changes, and the verb is in past, and of course you're telling me, right, that it's in present perfect, they haven't taken the test yet, then it has to be hadn't. So it's going to be like we or they told me that they hadn't with the, right? They had not or they hadn't taken the test yet. According to the rules, yes, it has to change to the past perfect.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Okay, no, you're welcome. There you go. And let's finish this up with you, please, Lucia. The same idea. Let's read only your report to the speech, please, statements, and we finish with that.
All right. She said that she submitted her documents every Friday. He said that he cooked dinner on Saturday. Mary said that she hadn't performed in a play yet. They told me by 1990 the Berlin Wall had been broken. He told her that she was going to run in the last marathon, and she told me they had to clean the house after the party.
Great. Thank you very much, Lucia. Very good. Again, only two details mainly. One is the capital letter of those words, right? Because you added every Friday, which is very good. Remember only the capital letter for all of them, including on Saturday, because you added on Saturday, as I told you, right? Instead of the day before yesterday. Okay, so that's great. Here, remember that here, if you use the same structure and you don't use the subject at the beginning, you also need to be careful with the commas. Why? Because here in this case, we only have one comma, because by 1990, this is the beginning of your statement, right? So it's an introductory phrase. But if you change this to report to the speech, it's not going to be introductory phrase anymore. It is going to be a parenthetical phrase, right? What's a parenthetical phrase? It's an interrupter, and an interrupter needs 2 commas. All right, so here you're going to say, they told me that, comma, by 1990, comma, the Berlin Wall had been broken. And if you want to avoid using those commas, because now it will be correct, you can change the placement, okay? That's up to you, because remember, as you are reporting the speech, you can change the order, because the usual order is the time expression at the end. So you have this option. This is one. And the other option is saying, they told me that the Berlin Wall had been broken by 1990. All right, in both cases, it is going to be correct. But again, if the time expression is at the beginning, you have to use 2 commas, because in this case, this type of phrase is different. Here, this is introductory, only 1 comma. And here, this is parenthetical, and you need 2 commas. All right, just that one, Lucy. I don't know if you have any questions about that.
And Professor, instead of the commas, also it's good to use the, I forgot the name, but it's like the big lines.
Yes, the dash, the M dash.
Yes.
Yes, it is possible. Look, sometimes as here you don't have any more commas, I believe that the most natural thing to do is to use only those commas over there. Okay. If you had commas before and commas afterwards, you can use the M dashes. All right, but again, if they are the only thing that you have here is by 1990, perhaps it's not the best option, and the commas are still the most natural and the best thing to do.
All right. Thank you,
All
Professor.
right, good, very good. Now you're welcome. And again, just to clarify, they can be used. And here also, if you use them, it is correct. All right. Now, with that, I think we're done. We're going to go now very briefly to review the passive causative. And in the meantime, again, remember, please, Micaela, Karen, this is our last class. So if you have questions or any doubts, concerns about any of the topics as Lucia, all right, said with one of them, let me know, okay? Because it's important to be ready for everything today so that you can take your final test and you don't have any problems. So passive causative, very briefly, remember that the passive causative is called in this way because someone is causing, it's provoking another person, right, to do something for him or for her. For example, I am paying a professional, right, so that the professional do something for me. Or I am hiring someone. Or again, I have any type of deal, any type of contract. Perhaps it's not money, it's an exchange of services. I don't know, right? But there's something going on so that I'm making a person, right, do something for me. That's why it is causative. And it's passive because the main object, that can be your house, your hair, your laptop, your book, okay? Any object that is receiving the action is receiving the action. That's why it's causative. Okay, so passive because there is an object receiving the action, and causative because you are causing, you are provoking something to happen, okay? Or someone do something for you. And that's why we have these options here in Lucia, but for all of you, right, this can be a review. Remember that the active voice and the normal, let's say, order is the subject that performs the action plus the action that the subject is doing plus the complement, right? This is common. I cleaned my house. But you also have the option of saying that someone else did that for you. And if you want to say that, you can simply mention the person that did it for you, the action, and the complement, right? Which is going to be here the same, because a cleaner cleaned my house. But this is what I was explaining that day. And remember that this is obvious. A cleaner cleaned my house. We can suppose that. And if it's obvious as a cleaner, and what does a cleaner do? Cleans, right? So we imagine that a cleaner, of course, cleaned your house. So if you're not going to mention someone extraordinary, if you're not going to mention someone different, if you're not going to say something that surprises the listener or the reader, then you don't need to mention this, right? And what is a way to say the same idea without mentioning who did it? Okay, remember that you can do it as, I believe that it was in your case, Kaela, or even you, Lucia, one of you mentioned the performer, and it's good, okay, but that's optional. If you don't want to mention, then you have to use what? The passive causative. Here, you are saying that you, or the subject, paid someone else. We imagine that if the house was cleaned, okay, if it was cleaned, then it was cleaned by a cleaner or by a clean company or something like that, all right? So you don't have to mention that. Then you said, I had. Had here means I paid someone, I hired someone, I made someone do what? Clean my house. But you're going to say, instead of that, you're going to say, I had my house cleaned by someone that you don't have to mention obligatorily. All right, so again, it means that I had means that you paid someone and your house cleaned by that person. All right, so in other words, it's that. But let's take a look at the example, and we're going to try to work on some of those examples with you, Lucia, and also with you, girls, Mika and Karen, so that we can practice together. Have and get are the two verbs that you use in passive causative. All right, have and get. Have is formal, get is the same, but it's less formal. And it's not always related to professional service, right? You use have, remember that have can be conjugated in any tense because the main verb is this verb. Remember that this is not working as a verb. this is working as a passive reference, right? Something that is happening to your object or to this object, right? So what was washed? The car. What was painted? The house or his house. All right, but the main verb is have. Have can be in past, in present, in future, in present perfect, past perfect, in modals, right? In the continuous form, in the simple form, in any tense. As you can see here, you have two examples, right? So it means that in the past, I paid someone to wash my car. So in order not to say all of that idea, right, I paid someone to wash the car for me. Instead of saying all that, you simply say, I had my car washed. And we know that someone did it for you, right? And instead of saying, John will hire a professional to paint his house, you can simply say, John will have his house painted. And we understand in English that John will pay someone to paint the house for him. Okay, and it's going to happen the same in every single case that you can think of, Lucia. If you say your hair, right? Your hair needs to be cut. Remember, cut is the same in present and past, right? Cut, cut, cut. So you don't conjugate that differently. So you can say, I will go to the hairdresser and the hairdresser will cut my hair. Instead of that, you simply say, I will get, or in this case, I will have my hair cut. It means again that you're going to go to a place and someone else is going to cut the hair for you. All right, and it applies to any example or to any object, Lucia. Have is the most common, but you can say exactly the same with get. All right, the meaning doesn't change. Again, the meaning is exactly the same, but as you can read here, it's only a little bit less formal. So you can say one more time with the previous examples, you can say this, I got my car washed. It's still okay, it's still correct, it's a little bit less formal, but it's good. And in the second example, you can say John will get his house painted. All right, in both cases it works. Or as this other example here, the students always get their essays checked. It means, of course, that someone else, right, does that for them. And he got his washing machine fixed. Means, once again, that a professional or a person, because something happened over there, is doing that for him, or in this case, his past, did that for him. Okay, and this again, get can be used in present, in past, in future, simple, continuous, perfect tenses, modals, etc. Anything that comes to your mind can be used in this tense. All right, so that's a summary of these tenses. Let's practice a little bit. You're going to let me know if you have any questions, but let's try to practice this with a couple of examples, starting with you, Lucia, and I'm going to go with you as well, girls, to be sure that everything is clear for all of you. So, Lucia, please choose two different tenses and give me two examples using have in the passive causative.
Professor, before everything, I have two questions, maybe.
Yes.
Just like the formula for the end, it's always past participle, also for have or for get?
Yes, always. That's never going to change. The passive voice always requires past participle, okay? It doesn't matter here if you have present, past, future. It doesn't matter, okay? That's always going to be past participle with have and with get.
And the other is, for example, that have or that get. Yeah, I know. For example, if it's a third person, we have to use has and gets.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. If it's in simple present, you conjugate with the third person rule. Always, if it's present perfect, you're also going to use the auxiliary has if that's the case. It applies that all the rules that you know about the tenses, they are going to be applied only in this verb, right? Have changes to has, to had, but it depends on the subject. So you're right. Third person applies to have and to get.
All right. Sorry, Professor, which were your examples that you asked me to do?
Yes, only two examples in two different tenses, Lucia. It can be present and future, or it can be past and past perfect, any tenses that you want, but two different tenses only using have, Lucia? What comes to your mind?
Okay. Claudia have had their exercise done.
Good. If you say there, I imagine it's possible, right? Because Claudia can be a part of a couple or a group, right? But good. Claudia, right, has had in that case, right, has had the exercise. And if you're talking about, right, any, for example, math exercise, then it's good. But again, the main idea that you're telling me there is that she paid someone else to do or to complete or to resolve the exercise for her, right? So is that the idea that you're conveying, Lucia?
Yes, about exercise practice.
Very good. Exactly. Good. So it's perfect. One more, please, in a different tense.
So, okay, Clementina is going to have her contract signed.
Good. Very good. I think it's great. Only be careful with the last word. Remember the ed, as there's no d. Try to make that ed a little bit more like t only. How do you, let's repeat only that verb, please.
Signed.
Signed. Exactly. Just like T. Good. That's great. Now, one more before going to your partners. Actually, let's also do this. Give me now, please, two with get a.
Okay. And teacher, it could be also works for objects or for animals, for example, because I mean animals or objects cannot hire or contract a service. It's possible. How can we deal with that?
Yes. No, actually, I thought you wanted to mention that here in this part. Here you can mention objects and animals, but here no. No, if it's an institution, yes, because an object can be like an institution, right? If it's an entity like an institute or a university, it's possible. But if it's an inanimated object and if it's an animal, no, because it's not possible that, as you said, right, they can get service. So no, only when you're talking about an entity, but that has an action that can be done, like again, public places that can be considered objects, but objects that can have actions, right? If that's not the case, then it's not possible.
Okay, so it could be again, United Nations get their reports submitted in the platform.
Okay, that is correct. But remember that just one detail, and this is just the conjugation. Okay, the example is great. You say the United Nations, but remember that the United Nations is going to be only one entity, so it has to be in third person, right? Gets. So if you're telling me that that's all something that happens every time, then you say, right, the United Nations gets or always gets, right, their reports or their documents, right, submitted, and you continue. Okay, just that observation. One more, please, Lucia.
I don't know. Mariana have gotten her essay checked.
It is correct. Checked. Or you can also, to change the verb over there, you can also say revised. Okay, revised. So that's a good alternative. Okay, good. Only one observation also. Repeat, please, one more time. What is the conjugation with that person? It's only one person.
Mariana had gotten.
Okay, good. I thought that it was in the present perfect, but it is in the past perfect, right? Had got it. So good. I think that that is correct. Just remember that if you use the past perfect, the same rules apply here. So try to mention another idea in the past to say that this is the first idea in the past and there's another idea in the past. So what is the context for this sentence, Lucia? What is the other past action that happened after this action in the past perfect?
Okay, by 1997, Mariana had gotten her essay revised.
Exactly. And again, I'm just asking for that one because if not, the better option would be simple past. Okay, and only simple past. We only use the past perfect whenever we have to clarify that it happened first. But that's great. I think it's working good. I have no observations there, Lucia. I don't know if you have any questions about the passive causative.
But no, teacher, just for get and have, in that case, it's like we can conjugate with all the tenses that we know, right? Just
Correct.
Yeah.
Any tense, even continuous tenses. There is no exceptions.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Good, very good, great. So with you girls, also let's take advantage, as you already practiced this one, I am going to ask you just for 2 examples. I'm going to start with you, Karen. Give me please, Karen, one example with have and one example with get, and try to use 2 different tenses for both of them. What could it be? Yeah, your microphone is off now, Karen. I believe that you are.
Sorry, teacher. Mario is going to have his room repaired.
It is correct. There can be some repairs in right in terms of, again, some holes or things that can happen in any type of room. So good. That is correct. One more, please, with get with a different tense.
Okay. The conference has no teacher. Oh. Okay. The conference has gave by a professor.
Remember, but there, Karen, that get is the same as have. You always need this structure, all right? You need any subject that can be the conference plus get in any tense, right? Remember, but you need get, right? So it has to be, for example, the conference has gotten, but if you, it's possible because the conference can be held by people and the conference can be active, so can produce something in someone. But the idea is that the subject costs or is causing or will cause something, another object that can be people or animals or objects, real objects, and this is the passive voice. Okay, so here, remember the example, the students always get their essays checked, or he got his washing machine fixed. All right, so follow the same idea as have. What do you say? What could it be with get?
You need to say the same example using get.
Try to use a different example, but try to use the formula over here.
Okay. Okay. She gets their phone by her mother. No,
good. You need one more thing.
Yes.
You need one verb.
She gets her phone bought by her mother.
Okay, good. It's possible to mention the agent, right? But remember here, you can also avoid it. So good. And also remember, if you say gets in the simple present, it means that it's something that happens every time. That is also possible, right? It's possible that her mother always, right, buys the cell phone or something for her, right? So if that's the case, that is correct. But if it's something that is happening only one time, Karen, it's better if you use the present continuous.
Okay.
Okay, and you can say is getting, right? So you can say she is getting her cell phone, right? Her instead of their, if it's only one cell phone for her, she's getting her cell phone bought by her mother, or simply she's getting her cell phone bought. It means that she's making someone buy a cell phone for her. Right, and also take that into account. Remember that this person is producing that. Okay, so it means that the mother is not doing that because she wants. The mother is doing that because her daughter, in a certain way, convinced her or made a deal with her. So you buy me the cell phone, right? Or you buy that cell phone for me, and I am going to do this for you. Okay, so if there was that type of exchange, then it's good. Okay, because grammatically speaking, it is good, but you always have to think of the possibilities that get and have this contract or this deal. Okay, have is more like paying, and get is more like, okay, do that for me, and I am going to do this for you. All right, and always the first person, the subject, makes the second person in a certain way do that. Okay, can be for obligation, for paying, for contract, for deal, or something that happened between those two people. All right, just that, Karen. I don't know if you have any questions about that.
No, teacher.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go with you, please, Mikael. Again, it's not easy to think of examples with this, because remember that this is not applied every time. This is not common. Only when you want to say that someone produced, right, someone or something, do something for him or for her. All right, that's why you cannot apply this every time. All right, so always think of that possibility. The same for you, please, Michaela. One example we have and one example we get in different tenses, taking all those details into account.
Okay, teacher, just to confirm, we can use the passive causative, for example, in that video or that proof will get Jose expulsed of the company, for example, or it's not possible because it's a object.
Yeah, it depends again if the object can do something, but repeat one more time. How would it be? Try to do an example. It's going to be better for me to get that one. Try to make
For
the
example,
example.
that proof or that, I don't know, that photo or that video will get Jose or that person expulsed for the company, for example.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
okay if we use, okay.
I think that's an interesting example, and Lucia was asking about that, and I think that this is a good exception, because in this case, an object that can be a contract can produce something, right? Why? Because if the contract gets published or the document gets published, it can produce something, right? It can produce something in a person. So if you say, for example, yes, the document, right, will have that person exposed, right, by the company, it means that the document is going to produce, right, that person to be exposed. So yes, in that case, it is correct. Just because that object in a certain way, and of course we know that the object is not alone, that object was written by a person, right? So indirectly, that is an object that is the result of something that a person did, right? So if that is the case and that object or document can cause something, as you're saying, it is possible. So let's try to do it please one more time, Michaela. Let's try to formulate that example once again.
The example?
Yes, let's repeat it. I believe that it was correct.
Well, that proof will get this person exposed of the company.
Okay, good. Now I was hearing something different. Let me confirm the verb. It is good. I just want to confirm the verb. Are you saying exposed, or do you want to say that it's going to be fired from the company?
Like fired.
Fired, right? So it's better. If you want to use the other word, it's not that word. It's going to be like spelled. Okay,
Oh,
spelled.
okay.
But in the company situation, don't use a spell because that's more like at school or university, all right, or courses. In your case, it's better if you say fired.
Fired.
So
Okay.
that proof will get, right, let's say that person fired from. And if that's the case, because again, I thought you were saying exposed, in this case, it's going to be from the company.
Fired from the company.
Exactly. Okay, so one more time, please. Let's repeat one more time that example.
Okay, that document or that proof will get this person fired from the company.
Correct, exactly. Very good. So one more. You're only missing one more, Michaela, this time with have. What example can you give with have?
She had having her breakfast made by her mom every morning.
Good. It is correct. Only one detail, because remember, we can mention the agent. That's optional, but we can do it. Okay, that is great. Remember that if you want to use, I think that's the present perfect. You need more things. If it's the present perfect, you need to say the auxiliary plus the verb to be plus the main verb with ing, right? So she has been having, right? She has been having, or she had been having if it's the past perfect. Okay, but I believe you were only saying the auxiliary plus the verb with ing, but that's not going to be correct. Okay, if you want to use the verb, the continuous form in the perfect tenses, you need the auxiliary plus been, right? B-E-E-N plus the main verb in the continuous form with ing. So with that correction, one more time, please, Michaela.
She had been having her breakfast made by her mom every morning.
Good. And then also one correction, if you're going to use the past continuous, the past perfect continuous, that wouldn't be the best context. That's a good context for the present perfect. Okay, so it's better if you say she has been having, because remember the present perfect is for periods of time and things that have been happening, right? But the past perfect continuous is for something that happened before another event in the past, right? But in this case, you're not mentioning another event in the past. You're just mentioning something that has been happening. So use that tense. Okay, so it would be she has been having, right, her breakfast, or breakfast, just breakfast is better, made by her mother every morning. Okay, because in that case, you're talking about a period of time, and the present perfect is the best option for that one. All right, just that one, Michaela. We don't need to repeat one more time. That's enough. I don't know if you have any questions about that.
Just to confirm, when we want make a question with causative, passive causative, it is the same, like does she have her cell phone, for example?
Correct. And you use the verb in the passive causative, in the passive participle. Sorry. Yes, it is correct. You hear, for example, I had my car washed. It would be with you. Okay. Did you have your car washed? Question mark. Right? John will have his house painted. Will John have his house painted? And as you said very well, yes. Does she have her hair cut every time? So you only, as you said, Michaela, you only invert the subject and the verb, or you use the auxiliary as with any question, right? And the rest of the information, the subject plus, or sorry, the object plus the verb in the past participle, they are never going to change. You only change the subject and the main verb to work with questions. But that is correct.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Good. So I think we're good. Again, we spent time on that one, but I believe it was important because I can see that you were having some questions about it. All right, so it was good. Okay, I think it was a good idea working with this because I was able to solve more than one of your questions. So I don't know if you have any other questions. Very briefly, we are on time already. We have 3 minutes, more than 3 minutes. So again, it's not going to be possible to have that extra activity that I wanted, but also it's only 3 of you. For debate, it will be great to have, right, an even number, 2 and 2. All right. Remember that that's also important vocabulary. What is an even number? An even number, right, is when it's 2 and 2, right? And an odd number, it's when it's 1 and 2, right? They are not equal. Okay, so it would be great if you were even, but now you are not even, you are odd, and that's sometimes difficult. But again, even for the time I told you that the best thing to do is revising, checking, and resolving the questions that you can have. So one more time, do you have any other questions or comments about any of the topics before finishing today? Let me know, please.
Teacher, just a question. Today is the deadline of everything, right? When we suppose we're going to start the next model the next week?
Yes, you're going to start on Monday next week. All right, so you're not going to have classes this week. Everything is going to start on Monday, the 14th. All right, the following week. But as I have to send the scores tomorrow, all right, they always give me the following day to send the scores. That's why the due date for finishing everything is today. But yes, today, 11:59 p.m., everything should be finished by that date or that time, so that tomorrow, at least, I don't know, right, midday could be that I'm going to be checking your your scores and sending everything to management. And with that information, you can register or enroll for the next course.
All right, Professor. And about the professor, we're going to have you again?
Yes, again, it depends. Actually, I was surprised that I was working with you again, because usually, again, as I told you, right, it's very common that you have 3 months with one professor. And you were supposed to be like that with the previous, I don't know with whom you were working in the previous month, but I thought that you were going to continue. But again, sometimes they see some schedule difficulties, perhaps that that person had some problems. That's why he or she was not able to continue, and they assigned me that course, which is yours. So again, if everything is going in the way it's supposed to be, I am supposed to continue with you, all right? But in case it was only because that professor or that person couldn't because of this month, then perhaps you're going to be with that person one more time next month. But again, I don't know, because those are internal things. They only design the courses. But again, it's very likely that it's going to be me if it was not an exception for that person.
Oh, okay. And
all right.
Professor, and just I had a question. Do you have I have problems with my laptop, with my computer, and I remember that we in the past courses of A9 I remember in the classroom we used to have the presentations, but is there any possibility that we could have again? I sadly I lost that, and I don't know if I can have again
Yes. What
ready.
presentations you're talking about? The previous courses presentation or this course?
Yes, from A9, A10, yeah, A9.
Okay, yes, but
Because
do something, please.
the classroom, we don't have more access to that classes, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, of course, but just do something, because now I'm going to work with some things I'm going to forget. Text me, okay? It can be in the WhatsApp group, or you can, again, text me, all right? You know my number, and let me know what courses you want to have access to, and I am going to send you the link. Okay? There's no problem on my side.
Thank you
All
so
right?
much.
Good. No, you're welcome. So that's it. I don't know if you, Michaela or Karen, you have any questions before finishing. As I mentioned one more time with Lucia, the next course starts next Monday, either with me or with a different person. You're going to continue working with 812. And 812 is going to be, for some of you, the last course. If you are going to continue, because it depends on the level you want to get. Okay, it depends on many things. For some people, the next course is the last course. For some of you, I don't know what program you are in, because there are many different like courses and programs inside Executive English. You're going to continue until A14. All right. And even for other people, it's going to be even more courses because you have the preparation course. So it depends again, what is the deal that you got with Executive English, but that's the case. All right. But very likely that for some of you, the next one is going to be the last one. Take advantage of that course as well. If you continue working with the program, also try to take advantage of that. On my side, again, that's it. If you don't have any more questions, please, I am going to send 2 surveys. Remember, one survey is the daily survey for today, and the other one is the final survey. You have to evaluate my performance, what it was during the whole month. So this is the first one. Let's first answer that one, please. Okay, I think that one of you is missing. Good. And I am going to send you this one. And remember, this is an evaluation for me about the entire course. All right, how satisfied you feel or you are, and you rate the preparation of the classes. All right, so that's it. I hope you enjoy. All right, well, try to finish first everything right tonight. You're not going to have classes this week, remember. If you're going to continue, it's going to be next week directly. So try to take advantage of those nights, keep practicing. I hope that we can keep working together just in case. If not, again, keep doing it in the way that you are. Don't forget to send me that message, please, Lucia. And if you also want access, Karen, perhaps, or Michaela, to previous courses contents, you can also let me know, text me, and I'm going to send you the link. I'm going to give you some days, all right, to download everything, but then I need to take you out to work with different courses. All right, just that one. Have a good night, girls. I hope I can see you next week. If not, again, it was great working with you.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you so much, teacher, for everything.
Bye-bye. You're very welcome. Good night. Take care, girls.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.